afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, fans of Skytear. Welcome to another episode of Skytear Sunday. I am the commander reporting in for duty. Joining me, my good friend Mataiz. Welcome.
Howdy, RG. Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
All right, so we are now ready to start episode number 13, and we are going to start the loop over again. Riccardo coming back to change and challenge for his crown, which was previously stolen for him. Pythoner ready to defend again, required to bring Kichi for this particular contest. And what's very important here, although we don't have new cards, we do have the new victory conditions, which means that today's objectives: outflank, win the lead of control token number 2 3 times, Bloodlust, defeat 2 enemy heroes with the same friendly hero, and Showdown. The first hero drafted is the leader for each player, and defeat the enemy leader with yours are the conditions necessary to win. So unfortunately, because they haven't been programmed yet into the mod, we won't be able to see those, but they are available as the victory conditions. So who is selected first for each player does matter. Pythoner did win the initial coin toss, which means he is elected to go first, and then Riccardo has brought the outsider. So, Matt, what likely heroes do you think we're going to see from each player as we can kind of overview their teams that they brought? Who's going to be selected as the leader for each player?
So, for the leaders here, I think you're going to want somebody who has that damage output, has that ability to put down the kills, especially with Bloodlust on the table. You can kind of support that one character, shuffle them around the map, and try and get those kills for them. But, likewise, you have that risk of survivability. So, I can see someone like Frail, for Riccardo over here, being a really solid choice with her healing abilities on herself, keeping herself at high health, having that one armor to maintain some survivability. While for Python, it's a little bit more difficult. But Yami's probably the better choice, but she has the output and the survivability.
Indeed. Yeah, generally speaking, as much as I disdain her, I would argue Kenway is probably the best hero overall to be a leader. Just because, again, as you mentioned, she has both the damage output and survivability. But given that Pythoner doesn't have her, based on who he does have, I think Yami is the best choice. Yami is the only hero he has with 18 hit points that also has armor and has a decent damage output as well.
And I think the only other choice that you really see for Riccardo would be Vorhild, where she has that untargetability, has the marksman damage to back it up.
Indeed.
But up against a red-yellow deck, you're afraid of release. And in that case, she's going to be instantly blown up, possibly in the turn that she gets released.
That is very true. Yeah, I would see likely, I know a lot of people have also been thinking that Freyhill is a good option, and as you mentioned, Vorhild as well, given that, you know, that survived. But it looks like Estrida is actually going to be Riccardo's leader as she appears first. All right, so with that being the case, I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate the tokens just for... Oh, they've already done that. Never mind. So as we can see over here on the victory card, you are able to see Yami versus Estrida. If either one of them kills the other, that's an instant game over for the player by Showdown. Of course, Bloodlust, again, is basically Tamer, except for everyone. Of course, remember that the outsider does count as friendly during its activation, and if Provoke the Beast is played, so also able to secure Bloodlust using the outsider by the same player. So it's not like Riccardo can win it round 1, get a kill, Pythoner wins it round 2, gets a kill in round 2, then Pythoner wins. No, it has to be friendly hero activation. So the outsider would need 2 kills by the same player in order to claim Bloodlust victory.
And that Estrida pick is really quite interesting, I think. I don't think people look at Estrida and think of a hero that's going to kill other heroes. Her job is mostly just attacking minions or applying disarms.
Indeed.
So him going for that might signal it's not his primary victory condition. And I think an interesting interaction between that, Showdown, and Bloodlust is whoever your aggressing hero is who might be seeking Bloodlust, like a Shalavi, is probably going to be up in the fray, vulnerable to dying herself. So if you can have her out there kind of forcing your opponent to respond and ignoring your actual leader, then that can take Showdown off the table for them.
100%, absolutely. We do see that Kichi is coming out. Again, remember, Kichi is required per the community vote, so unfortunately, I'm not sure if the community realized this, but Pythoner very, very much enjoys Kichi, especially with the predictabilities, being able to search through your deck with the 40 deck change rules from Season 2, Pythoner has really started to enjoy the ability to kind of predict 2, predict 3 if multiple marked opponents are within range whenever Kichi uses the worship ability. So we will see how Kichi works for Pythoner here. Is he able to fully use those search abilities? We note that Pythoner doesn't have Shafathi, who is the other kind of readily available prediction champion with the illusion ability, allows Nupton heroes to predict on a skirmish. So we'll see if Pythoner is able to search through his deck and get the cards he needs to get victory.
Yeah, and I think there's that kind of double index that he's already got on the mages compared to this, I guess, very typical ability for a blue deck with Astrida to control that lane 2 where Astrida is positioned. You might see Pythoner having to race a little bit to try and stop whatever moves Riccardo's making in that lane and keep outflank off the table. While the other 2 victory conditions are going to lean on that killing aspect, just denying the second kill for Bloodlust or denying that ability to hit Showdown means that outflank can very easily become our actual win condition here.
Also, to answer your question, Ryan, there are new cards, as you can kind of see here. So we are going to have a bit of an interesting game, Matt, especially I'm going to be relying on you since I'm going to zoom in here shortly. With the cards not programmed in yet, I probably won't get the notifications to see what exactly has been playing. And so I will be relying on you to help me since you're able to zoom around all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to need to get close up on those cards too so I can actually familiarize myself with them.
Yeah. We are going to see, I think, a lot of exciting plays there. Obviously, you know, I was doing some cursory examination there of Pythoner's deck, and you did see that I moused over Dance of Death, one of the cards that is generating a lot of excitement there, being able to gain damage from enemies that are marked. And with Yami on the field, we know that Yami likes to teleport all over the place very easily. That, you know, that 2+ damage can quickly turn into a lot more than that. And Astrida can find herself knocked down pretty quickly here. Notice that no Brilvar was drafted, which means Astrida's not going to get any bonus armor being shapeshifted and around him.
Yeah, and I think there is kind of the one saving grace he might have with that is going to be revenge. If
Indeed.
he can get that going, if he has the modifiers for it,
yes,
then having a Yami who wants to hit 3 times and thus get revenged on 3 times can make it a really risky situation.
Indeed.
In that showdown scenario.
The question, though, then, as you mentioned, is what are the modifiers? We know that Riccardo is not a fan of the aggressive playstyle. That being said, he has brought Korjoff and Shillavi, so it will be interesting to see. Are his modifiers higher, or does he have some time warps, you know, some soul screams +0s, some shatter mines? Well, shatter mine's +1, so that's okay. As we mentioned, we haven't seen either player's deck due to the fact that, again, they are using new cards from the Breach expansion here, so they wouldn't load properly on the game website as it's not been fully enabled. So we're kind of just going blind here, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think I'm just excited to see whatever tech they might have come up with for this.
Absolutely.
That Yami Dance of Death being kind of the clear candidate.
Yes.
And we already see a Speak with Spirits discarded for Riccardo here.
Yes. So Speak with Spirits was one of the blue cards that some players were interested in, mostly because you have a double effect on this card here. As you can see, you can predict 2, apply Shapeshifted to friendly hero within 3 hexes, and apply a Disarm to target enemy heroes. So in that scenario, you know, 2 mana for 2 different effects, very, very flexible, and does allow you a lot of options based on the scenario.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of an interesting choice here where it adds that extra disarm option and having that shapeshift option for a game where you're trying to protect a hero. Being able to disarm a hero and get that frail heal off can
Indeed.
be very crucial to shutting down a potential assassination.
Oh, and it looks like Yami's actually going first. Very interesting that you're going to put your leader out there with Korjoff able to come in there, soften her up, Freyhill able to soften her up, and then Astrida could go in for some damage. This is a very typical Yami opening. It's not that I'm surprised to see it. I'm surprised to see it go first. What I would have expected was that he would have put perhaps Miyuki in the center and started getting her zone of influence, as Miyuki reduces the attack by 1 and also stops flips of anyone within 3. But in this situation, looks like we're going to go ahead. So I assume that we're going to stomp on a minion and then move back towards Pythoner's side of the field. And then potentially attack the final one. Yep, there's the skirmish to stomp the minion, and then he'll either attack the final minion or lead Oh, you hate to see the +3 on the minion.
Yeah, flipping her ultimate there is going to be a little bit of a bummer and takes off that little extra bit of kill potential once you get to those later points in the game.
Indeed. Although, with Pythoner's deck, I wonder how fast he'll go and cycle through it. He didn't mulligan anything, but if he does use, he does have the prediction ability, so he could potentially discard a bunch of cards to cycle through his deck relatively quickly with the Kichi.
We do see him leading from hand as his final action there. So, opting not to kill that minion, maybe he'll find a way to get to it later with someone like Miyuki, but still quite a vulnerable position for her to be in.
Yep, could also be, saving the quick shot for the end of the round play to always mess with the math. That is lane number 2, which means that is a contest lane that the players will be fighting over for the outflank victory condition. And now Riccardo is going to start. And, of course, for some reason, Riccardo's heroes are actually not showing up here. Let's see.
Well, he is grabbing Frail, and he is starting with a worship action, throwing that shapeshift onto Korjov. So Korjov's going to be able to have that fast and immediately get to Yami. So we might be having to see Pythoner react with his Miyuki here.
Yep.
Get up close, get that worship down on Korjov to deny what looks like the play.
Yep. And unfortunately, it does look like because Riccardo had to use a custom command to get his heroes out, or something of that nature, it's not actually going to, the quick fix of pick the hero card up and put them back down is not actually letting them register. So unfortunately, we will not be able to see Riccardo's team on the HP tracker.
But we will keep things as updated as we can.
Indeed.
And so Frail finishes out her turn attacking a minion after she had moved and worshipped.
Yes. Very, very, I think, kind of standard opening. A lot of players will either run a Brilvar into the dome, or they'll have their Freyhill shapeshift Astrida. Although, interestingly enough, as you mentioned, the shapeshift is on Korjov, not on Astrida. Usually you shapeshift Astrida so that she can move, attack, and then lead with using the spawning ability.
So I think the benefit here is if Miyuki wants to deny this play, she has to get into the dome to reach Korjov.
Indeed.
So you're kind of denying an extra point of control for outflank on lane number 2 here.
Very true.
And that can be pretty advantageous, I think. Maybe it shows more that Riccardo isn't too concerned with that showdown victory condition.
Indeed.
But having the Korjov being able to threaten the HP loss is kind of icing on the cake.
Indeed. Also, Giacomo wants to point out that his brother shall revenge him. We shall see. Pythoner is currently the longest holding streak member of the King of the Dome series. Of course, we are only on episode 13, but nevertheless, Pythoner is the longest streak winner as of now, so we'll have to take a look at this. And also, welcome WSC Miniatures. We hope that you are both instructed and entertained. And there's
so
the Miyuki, as you
Miyuki.
called. Yep.
Moving into the dome, putting on that mark and slow, and she's going to take a lead from the deck.
Indeed. So this is going to help counter the fast that Korjov will get upon activation. Whenever he's shapeshifted, obviously gets the fast, limits him down to 3 spaces, but also that mark is going to reduce the amount of damage he can do by preventing the flip. And
very notably, a shapeshifted Korjov is melee. He can't even kill a minion when he moves in here.
Indeed. So I wonder, the question is, does he perhaps just go into the dome and start beating on Miyuki for doing this to him?
Yeah, I mean, the other option, I think, is probably to move him into the dome, or move him into lane 2, worship his Astrida, and then just have Korjov hold the lead.
Well, that's not happening necessarily right off in that order, as Astrida's going to go over with a move action. Now, the question is, does she attack and lead, or does she... I feel like she needs to attack and lead since Yami led.
Yeah, and I think that really depends on where
I'm wrong.
Playing. Oh.
Going for the worship.
And he's going to try and get that extra minion on the board.
Yes.
So I think with Korjov now being melee, if he does want to play Korjov into that lane, then this makes sense, where Korjov isn't going to have an opportunity to kill a minion anyways. Might as well save his third action for a lead.
This is very true. Yeah, because well, You could, I guess, use move and skirmish to get next to the minion, but that kind of feels excessive. So perhaps the move, worship the Estrita, and then with the lead actions, so that way she can be worshipped and ready to rock and roll next turn.
And so another interesting point on that showdown with Estrita is Estrita loses HP every time she does this.
She does.
She's often going to be one of the lower health blue heroes as a result of it if she uses it once or twice. And she's not in range of Frail right now if she gets shapeshifted again.
Yeah, normally...
She could drop pretty low.
Yeah, normally, obviously, it wouldn't be too much of an issue because being within range of Freyhill means she could just heal it right back up. But as you correctly pointed out, she is, what is that? 5 hexes away right now, meaning not within Freyhill's protective range of being able to be healed upon gaining the shapeshift condition.
And so we do have Pythoner here kind of debating his next hero to activate, which Riccardo's done a good job keeping his heroes out of range of these high damage mages. He's not got really anybody vulnerable to get hit by them on this first turn, and being able to shut down that aggression turn 1, go into round 2 with stronger control cards and less damage on your heroes is going to really, really hamper their abilities.
Indeed. And the problem, too, as you mentioned, with Riccardo being hidden, you either kind of have to suboptimally use your mage or leave them exposed for Shilovy to run in and start slashing away at them. So let's see what happens. Cytheru's going to activate here. So Cytheru's going into the dome here. Does he worship to get his illusion out? No, he's going with a lead from the deck, same as Miyuki. All right, sounds good.
The second one, yeah.
For some reason, the leads are not showing up on the HUD either for Pythoner, but both Cytheru and Miyuki have led from the deck. Oh, you know why? I'll bet I know why. They're probably new cards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, spoiler alert, we know that those are new cards because we can see that Yami has a lead, and when we flip over, I'll guarantee that it's an old card. So right now, Pythoner knows that 2 unknown cards are his leads, which is kind of cheating. Ish. Depends on how many new cards he put. Tape, can we get a ruling on this? Is this I mean, I guess technically there's still some uncertainty here unless you channel stuff to your deck. I don't know about this. This seems to be treacherous and dishonorable.
And so we do have Riccardo now debating on this third activation.
Indeed.
With a double commitment out of Pythoner into the Terror of the Endless Night, who notably is not your highest damage outsider here, but with Yami positioned where she is, she can get a frenzy, get big, and then possibly move that terror and grab Estrita into a more vulnerable position.
Yep. Or the alternative, since hunting for power isn't a concern, you could always spawn the hunter adjacent to Estrita, take a swipe at her, and then disarm her, and then push her back, push her and slow her towards the center of the map. And so now she would be slowed, disarmed, and right in the middle of Pythoner's army where he can just wallop her and then call it a game.
So Shilovy going in.
Yep. I assume move and then the skirmish targeting Cytheru makes perfect sense. We're going to take a swipe, and Cytheru's probably going to be at about half HP unless Pythoner has an answer for this.
Yeah, no Miyuki mark either means that this is going to be coming down at full strength unless maybe a Decree of Karuma, but that doesn't even avoid it because Shilovy can just get to that outside edge of the ring.
Yes. Oh, but we're popping the flux. Nightmares Incarnate, maybe? To apply... Migraine. Sorry, not Nightmares Incarnate. Yeah, Migraine. So Migraine will apply the disarm, and so therefore that will cause -2 damage on both the skirmish and the attack. And, of course, deal 2 damage to Shilovy as well, or 3 damage, actually. Oh, no. You need line of sight to the token in order to get the bonus. So that's 2 damage.
Still pretty solid. We're going to see... Oh, a time glitch come out, though, to remove that disarm from Shilovy.
Oh, very nice. So time glitch.
Full power.
Yep. So time glitch most often used... primarily in order to get fast, which it does, but the other secondary effect is that you also get to remove a condition as well. So that disarm is going to go right away. So we're back to 0+.
So Shilovy moving a little bit closer to get that hit onto Cytheru. And I don't.
Oh,
Ooh,
0 and -1.
wow, not what you want to see on those Shalavi flips.
Yeah,
But so they're sitting decently comfortable at 10 HP.
indeed.
And I think the only other person who can really get some impact going on him is going to be Korjov,
Hmm.
but he will be within range of Miyuki if he tries to go for that.
So interestingly enough, since what you mentioned earlier, what could be the case with that outer ring, if you move to the right of Shillavi and then you skirmish and then you just kind of continue circling around, you would be able to get outside of Miyuki's ring.
Yeah, and that would also give Korjov will have that extra benefit going for that skirmish. He gets
Indeed.
that 1 extra damage being shapeshifted.
Yep.
So that's already 5 as your base damage, and 2 flips on top of it. You can see that they're put really low.
Yes, and if he continues to move outside, that the other effect is he'll get a +1 on his attack, so that would be 4+ against the Theras. So basically, you're looking at essentially 5 plus the 2 modifiers there. Although as we saw, Riccardo's modifiers aren't the greatest, but it is technically possible with a 3 and a 2 that Cytheru could be dead.
And the one downside to that, however, is Korjov can't lead if he goes for this play.
This is true.
And you're going to lose the dome even with that double commitment.
Well,
and not having a lead in lane 2 also means that you might be losing that outflank turn first.
well, keep in mind, remember that Miyuki did lead from the deck, so it could be the case if you kill Cytheru, Kichi doesn't go into the dome, and Miyuki has a 1, then you tie it, but I feel like that's way too risky.
Yeah, and especially the fact that you're then conceding lane number 2 for outflank is going to make it extra rough.
Indeed, just as you mentioned, yeah, because going into the dome and overcommitting to the dome means you're leaving lane 2 vulnerable, and that is, a condition where you hate to see it. Before we had the Skytear Master, which is basically the same thing except in the dome, and sometimes if you go down 0-2 for the first 2 rounds and your opponent has 2 tokens on Skytear Master, they can literally just ignore the lanes and dive bomb the dome, and you have to respond or it's game over.
Yeah, and the part about outflank is it's so much harder to actually stop them in that case, where you
Yes.
have all these cover hexes to work with and a lot more space to run around and obfuscate the abilities for people to get close to you with minions.
Indeed.
It can be incredibly difficult to actually stop that.
And also, more to the point as well, as you mentioned about it being harder as well, the dome doesn't spawn minions. So realistically, you're back on even footing at the start of the round. If you win the lane, you have minion advantage. So that makes so it's a snowballs, exactly. Oh, Kichi's going in, it looks like. So we might have a dome brawl. All right, my kind of game. Violence, violence, violence. All right, so Kichi is stepping into the dome here. Now, interesting, the question will be, does he worship on either of them?
So that will activate Miyuki for the next round, kind of keep her live, which I think is going to be pretty worthwhile, especially if this pile continues. But I don't know what his other option would be. I guess the skirmish or to take a 3rd lead from deck if he really feels insecure about those cards on top.
Indeed. Yeah, because there's absolutely no way you're killing Shillavi with 16 hit points in round 1. With what's left on the table here. If this was the start of the round, maybe you could swing it if you had like a Shatter Mine and stuff, but you have 1 mana on Kichi, 1 mana on Miyuki. Even if you had double Shatter Mines plus an attack, that's 9 plus a flip, you just don't have the damage output right now. Oh, I guess Miyuki already activated. She can't use Shatter Mind.
Yeah, so we do see him worshipping for 2 predicts right here.
Okay.
He could see one of these being a card he draws. So he might want to stack one, kind of keep that as an attack modifier, and then have a second one, if he's assuming he wins the dome, that's the card he's going to draw from winning it.
Indeed. So we can say pretty much with confidence here, actually no, we can say with certainty, that Riccardo will win lane number 1. He has a 3-1 advantage. Lane number 2, let's see. Oh, Astrida didn't lead, so it depends on what Korjov does, and then the dome as well. So only for certain is Riccardo going to win one, and then it will result in, we'll see what happens there. So as of right now, though, I'm not seeing any cards that are discarded, so it looks like Pythoner chose to keep both of them.
Yeah, he's going to stack 2, so one of them is probably going to come down in an attack right now, or a lead. And there is the attack targeted on that Shalavi.
All right, so let's see what Pythoner chose to stack, and it is a Psychic Shield +3. Very nice.
Yeah, that's what you want to see.
You love to see the +3s on the attack, or the skirmish.
And so, finishing up, he will have that card stacked if he wins this dome or lane 2. He can draw it either way.
And
And we are going to now see Korjov, and I think this is where he really is going to show his hand as to what he's prioritizing. He can go in, get a bunch of damage on Thero, but he's still conceding the dome and lane 2. And I think going down 2 cards for that damage is going to be a big risk.
Indeed, especially with the Outsider. Like, the Outsider himself can put out a lot of damage. We'll take a look at the abilities whenever it's time to do that, but the Outsider can cause, worship actions to happen here. It can deal 3, it can deal the shockwave damage, so like this Outsider easily able to run down a character's hit points.
Yeah, and we are seeing Korjov go into the lane, lane 2, lead from hand, and transfer that Shapeshift to Shalavi, kind of up her survivability through Revenge right there.
And also getting the heal back as well with Freyhill, although we do again see another +0, so looks like we're right. Riccardo has once again stacked his deck with low modifier, high impact cards, to the surprise of neither of us.
Oh, and we do have...
Yep, end of turn shenanigans.
We have Freeze coming down.
Oh.
Applying a disarm to Yami.
So I actually don't have that programmed in yet because I'm lazy, so we're going to have to zoom out and take a look at that because we do want to see that on screen. Oops, nope, Riccardo's got Freeze. There we go. So Freeze is one of the new cards, and you get disarm on the target hero. If they already have disarm, then they just do 0 damage.
And, I mean, with Riccardo not spending a ton of cards this turn, him having that 1-mana card, just being able to burn it out of the hand and apply a disarm for the next round is pretty solid.
Yep.
Especially putting it onto the leader there. He's going to deny Yami a ton of damage this coming turn.
Indeed, and as we saw, Riccardo actually only led with a 2 because he knew that's all he really needed in order to win the lane. So we do see Riccardo wins by 2, kills off the minions, and gets 1 point on the outflank objective.
So Riccardo taking both lanes while Pythoner is going to have the Outsider.
Now this is interesting because if you position the Outsider so that it's up north of Kichi, you could actually get the Outsider to worship, use the Divine Conduit ability and allow Yami to take a worship action, but the problem is she's now disarmed.
The other option is to get Miyuki another worship action, right? Any of these red heroes are worthwhile for the fact that they're going to shut down another hero's damage for this coming round. Indeed.
Yeah, with Miyuki positioned very, very well. Her range of influence hits pretty much everybody except Freyhill. So excellent positioning from Pythoner. So you can cripple Astrida, make it harder for her to... well, I guess no, because it's -1, so she could still kill the minion there. But you can make it so that Shillavi and Korjov both have a more difficult time trying to kill Pythoner's mages.
Yeah, and another thing that's kind of interesting as we see Pythoner trying to place this Outsider is Korjov's position actually stops the Outsider from being able to see Astrida at all, furthering his ability to kind of shut down that showdown win.
Indeed. And real quick, we have a request for some color tint. So your wish is my command, chat.
Yeah.
As we make Riccardo's violently red. And he goes, oh my god, what are they doing to my team? There we go. All right, so now...
The blue team turns red.
Yeah, well, that's because Pythoner seized control of blue players, so... It do be like that sometimes. Also, interesting position for the Outsider. I wonder if he's going to use Shockwave from this position to kind of blast Astrida deep into the enemy territory.
So he can't actually see Astrida.
Oh, you're right.
That's the interesting part here.
That is a good point.
So there's 2 new card leads. We had a Dance of Death coming down from Yuki.
Yep.
And a Karumo's Judgment.
Oh, God, I can't wait for this card.
The winning lead for that round.
This card is going to be so... So actually, we were right. The reason that the leads didn't show up is because they were new cards. High five.
Yeah, called it perfectly.
All right, so yeah, Karumo's Judgment is probably my most look forward card from the deck, that or Lore of the Tainted, so hopefully we get to see that in round 3. It's basically a global, everyone gets marked, and if they're already marked, they take damage, and it's piercing. Now, the trade-off is it's everybody, including friendly heroes. Now, the good news is Riccardo literally can't mark, so... not a problem to worry about.
Yeah, and I think this kind of Kuruma's Judgment and then Miyuki pairing has been a superstar idea coming
Yes.
out of this expansion. People are really excited about it. And we do see the Shockwave going onto Korjov
Yep.
out of the Outsider here. Perhaps wanting to put a little more damage onto him.
And then we now see an attack action. So is the attack action on Shilovy or is it on Korjov here? Interesting.
I would assume Korjov, just so he doesn't get revenged
exactly.
on with
That's
Cythera right there.
Yep, that is my thought as well. Because Cythera's... Oh, nope, we're both wrong. We're going after Shilovy.
Here we are. And flips to +0, so it's only going to be 3.
Okay, so... And a 0 on the revenge flip, so...
Flipping Soul Screams, wow.
Yep. Pythoner, you know, being one of the pioneers of the Suicide Squad deck back in very popular back last summer and in the fall when it was kind of at its most powerful, sitting there thinking, no, that's not how it's done. You need higher modifiers, mate.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of up against his own plans here.
Indeed. All right, we do see, as you mentioned, that worship action for the Miyuki, so somebody else is going to get slowed and marked. Again, I presume it's probably going to be Korjov, just due to the fact that Shilovy is already marked, and the Estrita would still be able to kill minions, so not that beneficial there. Whereas
not hugely beneficial for it.
So we'll see who he ends up putting the mark on. Not sure why he's waiting, to be totally honest, as you can't counter during the Outsider phase. But
I think he's just debating on who to mark here. Because I can see the other option with Estrita is if you mark her, the slow might be the actually more impactful part.
Yes.
Keeps her from getting to, say, one of those outside brush, and keeps her within kind of striking range of all of your damage heroes.
Indeed. Yeah, because now that we're in turn number 2, I think this is where Pythoner's going to start getting that aggression advantage here. Obviously, turn 3, we've seen him flip the Soul Scream, so we are going to look for some high-impact damage in round number 3. But round number 2, you know, the Shatter Mines can come out, the Nightmare Incarnates can come out, more Migraines might be necessary to reduce the damage. We'll see what happens here.
And we do see that Miyuki Worship going on to Estrita, getting her with that mark and slow.
All right, so we're into round number 2. Now, remember that Pythoner did pop the Flux for a mostly wasted effect. It did result in Riccardo having to use a time glitch that he might have otherwise wanted to save. But, you know, if you're going to just use a time glitch to remove a condition versus your opponent popping a Flux, I'd say you're pretty okay with that trade.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid trade. I think the only other thing I could have seen that time glitch doing was activating Korjov a little bit, removing that mark.
Indeed. All right, so let's see. Now, remember that Yami is disarmed here. So not likely to see Yami go flying in and start carving the fish up for sushi just yet. And instead, no, we're going after Shilovy here.
Yeah, so we do have Kichi opening up, taking that skirmish, hitting on Shilovy.
Yep.
And Shilovy revenging for 3.
Ooh,
not the best trade. Fair bit of damage coming down onto him.
Yeah, this is that was not a good trade in the history of Skytear trades. Cythera actually is now within kill range for Shilovy, so I hope Pythoner has a plan. All right, the plan is we're going to start sinking the fish. So Kichi going in for the attack action. Remember that Yami's disarm does not affect her worship ability, so if we get her low enough, we could just worship and then blast Estrita with Nightmare Incarnate or something like that and end the round.
But we do get a redirect coming out of Estrita. Can we push this attack somewhere else? I would assume
Outsider.
onto a minion.
No, Outsider. I saw him ping
Ooh,
the
Outsider, yeah. Gonna get that retaliation damage in.
Yep, so the where are you? There we go, there's redirect. Yep, so redirect allows you to change the target there, and that's not it. There
wait a minute. Oh, okay, I understand now. So, Kichi had played a Vendetta. Hence why the Outsider just lost, looks like 10 HP.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of damage out of that Vendetta.
Yeah.
What a crazy card. I assume he must have used it onto Shillaby or Astrida, but him
Astrida,
being
yeah.
able to go up to that plus or that 7 plus a flip attack, and then he flips the Psychic Shield, 10 damage on the outside. That's kind of crazy.
Yes, that's
For a
the
one-mana
power of the
card.
new deck. Whew. So that would have actually brought Astrida down to 3 HP, or 4 HP, excuse me. Which then again, as we mentioned, if Yami has like Nightmares Incarnate, you worship on Astrida, flip against that, and if you still need a little bit more, then you just attack her or Nightmares Incarnate her, and then that's game over by showdown. But not going to happen.
Yeah, and so that Vendetta is especially going to be, if he has a couple more of those in the deck, and it's
Yes.
a great card into blue.
Yes.
Anytime they shapeshift, you're giving them 2 more damage on those attacks onto you.
Mm-hmm. And especially, yeah, with Miyuki, that's 4 more damage. So, like, even Miyuki could get a +8, or an 8+ rather. Like, oh, this is going to be so
Any hero
good.
is a threat.
Yes. Can we talk about Akimo using that for a second, please?
I mean, it's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
You can go insane damage.
If he attacks a marked hero, you're potentially looking at 5+. Again, if Miyuki had worshipped on a shapeshifted hero, that would be 11+ double flip.
Yeah,
That's almost literally a one-shot.
It's not like Akimo couldn't do it already, but to give him... right now, he can do it with his ultimate, right? But
Indeed.
now you can look at Akimo and be like, all right,
Yeah.
I have my ultimate one-shot you, and I have 3 Vendettas lying in wait. You always have to be scared now.
It's time for sashimi! I have no idea why I slipped into that accent. I apologize. So as we mentioned on the Outsiders Only podcast, and we will mention here, it is getting to summertime, which means it is time to make Akimo great again, and that is exactly what this Breach set is going to do.
And so we do now have Pythoner here, I think debating on what to do. Or not Pythoner, sorry, Riccardo. Which, gotta admit, he's gotta be feeling the pressure here.
Yes.
Even if that Vendetta attack didn't hit him, he can pretty much see all his heroes being marked in range of Miyuki. His damage potential is low.
Yes.
He's gonna have to really force this control objective to really go through. And he still has a whole other turn on Outflank.
Yeah, and so I think the thing that we have to remember is Riccardo is literally known for completely overinflating Nexus destruction win rate, so he may actually just say, you know what, we're going to have this little tussle over here. Oh, by the way, look at lane 1, number 1, your tower is about to explode.
Mm-hmm. If he keeps Frail in that lane, it can go down, or if he moves Shillaby into there. He's got the ability to kind of force him out of the dome, force him to respond to these lanes, or else his Nexus could be the threat in round 3.
That's very true. All right, so... for some reason, we also turned over the showdown card for reasons that I don't know, but whatever. We know that it's there. Maybe both players just turned it over as like an agreement of, hey, you know what, we're not doing this. We are vetoing the rules. Riccardo is known for shifting the rules mid-game just to suit his needs. Maybe he just decided, you know what, I'm going to banish one of the victory cards because I can.
So we do have Pythoner now taking his Cythera into the lane with a move. He drops the Dance of Death. And he's going to play a Shattermind to get that Frenzy going. Cythera's about to go off.
All right, so let's bring up, first of all, Dance of Death up here. As I mentioned, we saw that earlier when I was kind of mousing through the decks. When the caster damages a marked enemy hero, if they have Frenzy, they get +1 attack. Otherwise, apply the Frenzy. And then, as we saw there as well, the Shattermind card just deals straight 3 damage, which means now Astrida does take the 3 damage. And the question, risky attack here.
There is attacking.
This is risky.
7. He's attacking for 7 or 6+.
It would be 7. It'd be 5, right?
Because he had 5 from the Frenzy. Then he hit her with a Skirmish, so that's 6 from that extra bonus attack. So I think he's sitting at 6+ on this attack, and Astrida only at 7 health.
Yeah, that's kind of risky. If you're trying to set up for a showdown, you might just straight up kill Astrida here. Which, to be fair, you also have Bloodlust on the field, so not the worst thing in the world, but Cythera also kind of low.
Shift those priorities.
Yeah, Cythera's also low, though, so if Cythera dies, that means that Pythoner wouldn't be able to win until turn 4 using Bloodlust. Nope, we're going for it.
But he does go for the attack. It's the plus
Plus
one.
one.
That's
Okay.
a dead freedom.
Riccardo, breathing a sigh of relief here, thinking, all right, no showdown destruction today. All right, so that's going to get Pythoner one card in hand, which is pretty good. Pythoner has been burning through a lot of his low mana cards here in order to, enact a lot of destruction. Looking very effective. And we there do see that the Cythera token is now on Bloodlust, which means almost certainly that Riccardo's going to need to shift his attention to try and kill the Cytheru.
Yeah, and with Shalavi being marked, unfortunately, it's going to be a little difficult this round unless he has another way to remove that condition.
Yes, because unlike last round, there is no way to get in range of attacking Cytheru without being hit by Miyuki's Sphere of Influence.
Mm-hmm. And Frail being kind of far from the action, too, might force him to either dedicate her into the dome, where she can put a little damage onto Miyuki, who's taken none so far, has the armor, and kind of abandon that lane one, where he'll still probably get the cards, but not pressuring Nexus so much.
Yeah, and the thing to note, too, as well, Shillavy's down to 7 hit points, which means if Pythoner gets the dome again, the Outsider can chip away at Shillavy, and then Pythoner can just blow her up with Cytheru at turn 3 if Cytheru is still alive.
Yeah, it's not the safest position.
So, Riccardo needs to be very careful here.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen a ton of cards out of Riccardo. He's still sitting with quite a few in hand, and weirdly, I don't feel like I understand his deck so far because of that.
Yeah.
But he is going to take Shalavi into that lane one. Riccardo, the Nexus killing man, is going to go for it again. Drops a presence onto Shalavi. That tower's probably going down.
Yeah. That's with that presence going in there, and also with the subsequent predictions here. Very likely, yeah. There's already 4 minions. We assume that Freyhill will move up. And we see a lead from the hand. And guess what? That's another new card because it's not showing up on the overlay. So we'll have to take a look and see what those are later down the line. And then it looks like a worship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Heals her, Shalavi, gets her a little bit into a more safe range. And hopefully next round he can shut down Cythera before Cythera can get to her.
Indeed.
But Cythera having that first activation, it's going to be difficult.
So the other option, too, is Yami does give vision of Korjoff. You may just spawn the Outsider such that you start wailing on Korjoff. You would have to reposition Miyuki in order to be able to reach him. But, I mean, again, you're fine with that, so... Korjoff, alone and friendless, might just get Zerg down here.
Yeah, and he's got very little in way of defenses for it. Maybe turn 3, I think his best avenue is actually if he has the ultimate, where he can just jet right out of there.
There's the Miyuki transfer. Also, going to mark Freyhill, I assume?
Frail or Shillavy, maybe. Those are the only 2 real options I can see. Those are the only 2 in range.
I mean, he could mark the Outsider, but that seems kind of pointless when you're going to win it, so...
Yeah. Well, it is still contested.
True, he could, but that seems unlikely. Given that if Freyhill moves in, then Yami can just move in with a lead and guarantee it, unless Riccardo has another presence.
Yeah, well, I also think it's worth noting is Python has 1 card in hand.
True.
So that lead is largely up to chance, unless that's a 3 sitting in there.
Wait, does he?
And we just dealt a card out to all of us.
Cool! I get a card now! What card do I get here? Oh, nope, just kidding. We're not going to show it to you.
Meant to go off the top.
Okay, well, there's another Judgment of Karumo that was flipped. No, I want to play Skytear too. Why are you taking my card? Oh, it was a migraine too. Feels bad, man. When you don't get to play.
Card it there. We had all the damage.
Yeah, come on. This is my kind of game. Ugh. All right, whatever. That's fine. So, we do see then the worship action coming down to finish the round off. And, yeah, Riccardo, I feel like Riccardo has to go all in on that Nexus Destruction at this point, because I just don't... He's not going to get Bloodlust. He's not going to get Leader is currently literally impossible to get. He could, I guess, continue forcing in lane 2 for outflank. He does have minion advantage there.
So Yami will be making some sort of work of that, most likely.
Indeed.
And she can do that and still wail on Korjov.
Exactly. Yeah, she can skirmish over the minions to stomp them. Probably don't really want to target Korjov, given that she's disarmed. That's not going to do much damage, but very easy. Okay, Freyhill's coming into the dome.
Gonna force Yami to have to come in if he wants it.
I mean, Yami could still, attack one minion, stomp on another with a move, and then
another presence, though.
Okay. That's huge.
Changes the equation a little bit, yeah.
Yes.
Shilvi not going to go that low this round, and that outsider could kill Cytheru.
Yes.
And notably with that, you would only have Pythoner having 3 heroes into the next round, while Estrida is going to come right back.
Exactly. And also, as we mentioned, round 3, kind of, I think, the do or die round for Pythoner, because both towers are under duress. So if Freyhill's in there, let's do some math here. So let's assume that Shilvi has a 3, so that would give her 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to Pythoner's 2. So that would be 9 to 2, 7-point lead, 2 minions, 5 towers, kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. That tower's exploding.
Yeah, and so leading again from hand, not liking either of his presence finds here.
Interesting. All right.
He's going to shapeshift. Freyhill can revenge. And now Yami kind of going to be the deciding force here.
Yep. So Yami, I think, has to go in the dome in order to force the tie here. Otherwise, or attempt to force the tie. With Pythoner's hand size, he might not have it. So there we go. Stomp on the minion. Dead minion. Looks good.
Pythoner's going to worship on the Freyhill.
Makes sense. Get her into the dome. Teleport
and get
away.
that Miyuki mark. So this will also mean that Freyhill's going to get to revenge.
Yep. Ooh, 3 damage. Obviously, minus the armor is 2 total. So now Freyhill will get to trigger the revenge, which is theoretically going to do 0 damage here, given that most of Riccardo's action... Yeah, see, Riccardo's just even bypassing it, not even doing the revenge trigger there.
He did stack that second card, I think, so that makes sense.
That's also true as well. He might want to be drawing it on anticipation of winning the control point.
So Yami probably has to lead here. Even if you don't know what you're getting, you have to try.
Absolutely. Yami
and those
must
attacks
lead.
aren't going to be very worthwhile.
Nope. With that disarm, you're doing 0+, and Freyhill has an armor. Not worth it all.
So Pythoner debating. Leads from hand.
Okay.
Oh, thought about it. Maybe not.
Wait for it. Show us that lead. Is there a lead? Maybe there's a lead. Maybe there's not. Well, there is a lead, obviously. He's declared the action. The question is it from hand or from deck?
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the rough part is whatever he's got, if it's in hand and if it's good, it's probably something he wants next round.
Yes. We have seen that Yami's Kneel Before Me has already been played. We haven't seen, I don't think, any of the other ultimates. Now, obviously, excuse me, Caged Soul would be huge going into the next round. You can prevent Cytheru from dying, but if you don't get there, it doesn't matter. So,
and we do see he leads from hand with it.
All right.
We'll see what it is.
So over here, there was the lead from the Shilvi. That tower is gone. Nexus is now exposed.
Nexus on the table.
Okay. Move the token back.
Old token plenty far away.
Minions snap.
And there's no minions over there.
Oof, that's rough. So yeah, so this is basically do or die turn here for Pythoner. Now the good news is, with that lead, Yami will protect the dome, so it's going to be the case that Cytheru will get to activate. You must kill someone here. Now the nice thing is, Cytheru does have an ultimate that is global targeting. So what you may end up doing, potentially, is activate Kichi, kind of block in the Korjoff there if you can. And then get it so that you can use Final Judgment with Cytheru and no, the flip
was a
there.
cage soul.
Ah,
that was a cage soul.
The feels bad, man. But once again, if you don't use that, then you're kind of screwed. So
yeah, either way, Cytheru's in danger. And now, so Outflank also getting the win for that second round on Riccardo. You have to defend both these lanes.
Yeah, Pythoner must kill.
Bloodlust.
Yeah. Pythoner must kill someone with... Well, here's the thing, too. Also, I just realized, you don't have to go after Korjoff. You can go after the Outsider. Thanks to that Vendetta play earlier, the Outsider doesn't have a whole lot of HP.
Yeah, if there's another thing like that, that could be on the table.
And the Outsider doesn't get to run away. Like, you could activate Cytheru, cast Final Judgment, move in, skirmish, and then attack it, and potentially just kill it. You do have Freyhill in range, though, so you do have to worry about the Sacrifice snipe, or the Nourish snipe, but that might also just be how you do it. I mean, Pythoner's options are limited here. Riccardo guarantees wins at the end of this round, because I don't think there's any way that Pythoner can prevent both in a lane 1 explosion and an outflank victory here, so Pythoner must win in lane 3, or excuse me, in round 3. Okay.
So Pythoner's going to open with Cytheru, going for Shillavi.
Interesting. We're going...
So he must have some damage in hand if he's going to go for this.
Yep. So here's the thing, though. If there's another redirect and he goes for any effect, Riccardo can just say no and end the game.
And with that positioning, he choosing not to go further into the lane, he's...
Okay, well, there's the flip, so that's 4 damage.
Plays a Shatter Mind, not in range, so that's only going to be 3.
Okay.
Down to 2.
Is there another Shatter Mind? Or a Nightmare Incarnate, or a Migraine?
A Migraine.
There it is! All right. 2. If Riccardo doesn't defend this, it's game over by Bloodlust.
And we see a Call of the Week. X is target enemy, where X is the number. Oh my goodness, that's 6 damage on Cytheru.
So all those conditions, all those conditions actually paying off.
Yeah, that's... Oh, wow.
Is there a Psychic Shield? If the... Nope, Cytheru's dead. No, Shillavi does live. Well played by Riccardo. Pythoner debated. And I hate to say it, but I think that's game over.
Not the way I expected him to die.
No.
Him to stop that.
Yeah, there were several ways we thought about him dying. That was not one of them.
Straight up 6 damage to the face. Seeing that, while stacking all those conditions, it's a real shame if you're getting Vendetta. If you got Call of the Week, though, that's... You can really turn the tide for that.
That was a very well played. Both players very much well demonstrating the abilities of the new cards here. And honestly, I think at this point, Pythoner just... So Pythoner's last standing condition at this point is if Yami can kill Astrida. Given that Kichi, I think we've already seen Curse of Years here. Let me take a look here. I'm pretty sure we've seen Curse of Years. Nope, that's Karuma Judgment. I thought we saw Curse of Years. Maybe we haven't. Okay. Oh, yeah, we did. Okay, there it is. Yep, Curse of Years has already been played. I don't see how you can kill Astrida with Yami, because you don't have Curse of Years to cut Astrida's HP down. You don't have Kneel Before Me to deal bonus damage to Astrida. I just think Pythoner is out of options at this point.
Yeah. And I think kind of the most interesting thing to take away from it going into the breach is going to be this kind of evolving meta that we'll see around conditions, right?
Yeah.
Where you can have him as that double-edged sword, where you get these huge damages on both sides, having them and fighting against them, and then seeing just how much people are willing to index into it.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, they're basically saying we're going to concede the end of the round here, it looks like. Or I guess we're going to play it out at this point. So Korjoff going for the attack action, going for the lead from the deck. But Riccardo knows that this game is over.
Yeah, he's got the. I mean, leave it to Riccardo. He's got all of these minions. He's got the push, and he managed to survive.
Yeah, very well done there. That call of the week coming in clutch.
And so now, Python are potentially trying to find some sort of way out. I can't really find it for him,
Yeah.
but
Again, the best thing I can think of is you've got to send Kichi and Miyuki both to try and hurt Astrida, and then just try to get lucky on the Astrida flips. That's the only way that Pythoner can win is via showdown.
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's even a way he can hold onto his lanes at all, but I don't see a way he can even win the outflank. He's got that snowballing effect that you had mentioned at the beginning. It's really kind of come to fruition here, where compared to Skytear Master, where you snowball through the damage of the outsider, that's how you maintain that advantage turn to turn. An outflank with just the minions, I think for a lot of decks that's going to be harder to call back from.
Yeah, Pythoner had a great plan, but unfortunately, again, the as you mentioned, those conditions being the double-edged sword, you can stack them up. On the one hand, you can Vendetta and get absurdly good damage value, but on the other hand, you can also use Call of the Week then and, save your bacon there.
And I think also kind of letting Cytheru become kind of the target, right? Where you had Yami, her job was to be this beefy but high damage dealing assassin. She's going to be seeking the kills, but having Cytheru kind of steal that role away from her, he's so much more vulnerable.
Right.
And I think we really saw how that becomes a problem where Astrida's dead on round 2. Now Yami loses her ability to get her win condition.
Yep. And we see Kichi attacking Freyhill here, so not sure if we're just going through the motions here, or if Pythoner has concocted a plan that we're just not thinking of. We've seen the Shatter Mines and the Migraines played.
With spirits.
Okay.
To disarm this attack, most likely. Slow it down even further.
Ugh. At this point, this just feels wrong.
That's rough.
This is wrong. This is I'm very much imagining the "stop, he's already dead" meme. Like this.
Riccardo, he's building his villain arc for his new reign.
You hate to see it, the reign of terror. But no, that of course, Riccardo did say that he was coming back to reclaim his throne. Looking like he'll be able to do it. Now, of course, again, remember the rules of Skytear King of the Dome series do stipulate now Astrida is banished from his kingdom.
So maybe this could be Pythoner here, a man of the people.
Yes.
He's going to try and take out Frail, remove her from the table, take her away from Riccardo.
That is very true.
As a
parting
self-proclaimed Frail hater, I am 100% down with this. This makes sense to me.
I agree. Yeah, that could absolutely be the case here. That's why you don't immediately concede this. You can kind of pave the way. You can be spiteful and pave the way for future generations by killing off heroes. And so whenever the person gets to take over, they're no longer able to access them. So if we can finish off Freyhill here before the end of the round, then it will be the case that both Freyhill and Astrida are prohibited. And it looks like we're going to go for the skirmish. +1 on that brings Freyhill down to 10.
Yeah, and so weirdly the game switches from the victory conditions of Skytear to how much can Riccardo keep this Frail alive and save her for future rounds.
This is very true. So this is actually now the new spot of entertainment. I got $5 on somehow he keeps her alive with like Chasm or some other nonsense.
I mean, she still has to activate. She could just leave.
True. She could run like the coward that she is.
That's true. I mean, I can't say I'd expect any less.
Nope.
From anyone who's willing to pick this hero, but
oh, shots fired. More like a salvo, really. But I agree with you. I also, in the bin, not a fan of Freyhill's obnoxious durability. Interestingly enough, the same could actually be said about Shillavi. You could activate and kill Shillavi off as well. So yeah, Pythoner may just be on like a rampaging path of destruction to take out as many of Riccardo's heroes as he can and make the way easier for future generations.
Yeah, and I mean, with that, maybe he really just wants to see if he can soften them up as much as he can, and that last-ditch effort is Yami Bloodlust, right? You go in, you kill Frail, you kill Shillaby. You're gonna need a ton of damage out of hand, but it's potentially on the table. If he has a Soul Scream or something, it can work.
There's a Soul Scream. There's also another option that I thought about. There's one Kurumo Judgment. There's two Kurumo Judgment.
Yeah.
Nope, never mind. Kurumo's Judgment. All three are in the bin.
Ah, that would be the most fun version, though, right?
That would actually be hilarious.
And Shalabi's sitting right there in kill range of it.
Yeah. 3 piercing damage to anybody already marked. Also, gonna heal that Freyho. Yep, Riccardo knows what the plan is. He's keeping Freyho alive at all costs.
And maybe there's trying to see what Yami could possibly do, but Python losing double lanes last round, doesn't have a lot of cards to work with for it either.
Indeed, he's got exactly 1 card, so that 1 card has to be a soul. That caged soul. If he would have been able to use the caged soul, that would have been huge.
Yeah, just having Cytheru back alive, able to continue his rampage.
Yeah, well, that would have been game over, right? Because the Nightmare would have gone through, and then Shillaby would have died. So that would have been literally the opposite victory results there. But unfortunately, again, as you pointed out and as we talked about, had to play that. Otherwise, he loses the dome, and then the outsider just kills him anyways. So
yeah, and man, really unfortunate too, seeing as Cytheru played the Shattermind, then played the Migraine, actually lost his ability to use Release the Spirits and stop himself from dying.
Yes.
Now that I think about it.
All right, we're gonna go and attack the Freyho here. So this is 2+. We do see a +1 there from the Lure of the Tainted card, going to deal 2 damage to Freyho.
Very exciting card to see.
Yes,
I wish we had gotten to see it out this game.
That's gonna be such a good card.
And so, Miyuki, notoriously not a very high damage hero, just gets a little bit more onto Frail. I guess, yeah, we're left hoping that it's Soul Scream. But Shalabi gonna get to activate soon. She can run away a little bit further despite the slow.
Yes.
And the main objective is probably going to be getting her outside of Yami's worship range. And then getting her outside of range for something like a double Soul Scream hitting both of them.
All right, and we do see Miyuki moving over there to end the round. So, Pythoner basically just has Yami. What can Yami do? We believe in the power of Yami, but even with her, there is some things, that Yami just can't do.
Yeah, the gods have limits.
She does.
And so he can debate here between either running with Shalabi or taking the Streeta in and applying a disarm to Yami, which would kind of really potentially shut down that potential win for her.
And also, again, as you mentioned, with card size, Pythoner has exactly 1 card. Riccardo has 4. So Riccardo probably has a number of tools that can be used to prevent this last-ditch effort.
So now we do see Shalabi activating. Notably, we'll also clear all these conditions off of her at the end of the round. Not going to be any great targets left for something like a Vendetta, if that's what he's got in hand. She goes into the dome.
Okay.
Can't say it's what I expected.
Yep. Attacks the Yami. Because why not?
Oh, hits a 3.
Okay.
Do a bunch of damage.
Not too bad there. And Shillavy's disarmed.
That's the disarm.
Yeah. Or I'm sorry, Shillavy's shapeshifted, which means that's the disarm, which that now guarantees that you can, because you needed that Yami attack in order to be able to finish the job.
Yeah, and also notably, if Yami wants to reach Shillavi and Frail here, she has lost the ability to worship, skirmish, and attack in a turn. She will have to spend a move.
Correct. Oh, that's rough. I wonder, do you worship to kill the Shillavi, get in position for the move action, and then hope you hit the Soul Scream right there, and then maybe get
on the kill, or maybe? Yeah.
And then maybe if you draw like a Nightmare Incarnate or something, Miyuki still has 2 mana, she could play that and help you out.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that attack is +0 with the disarm, so like, yeah.
There's a lot of cards that you're probably hoping to hit, but
Yep.
I don't even Frail being as durable as she is, neither of these heroes being mages, Miyuki and Yami, anything's going to be reduced. It's going to be tough. But she does skirmish and get the kill.
Okay.
So that's a card, and she's in worship range, so she actually does still get the skirmish, worship, and attack.
Okay, interesting.
And what are we seeing coming down? We do see the Lure of the Tainted.
Okay.
And
Okay.
notably, he casts this from Kichi, and it is not line of sight. It is within 3 hexes.
Yes.
So when Yami gets marked here, she's going to take X+, which is 3+ damage from Kichi, for just 3 on the flip, or 0 on the flip though. So it's only going to be 3 damage, and the disarm's still on Yami.
Yep. By the way,
he actually flipped it. +0 or +1?
Shillavi shouldn't be dead, right? Because the skirmish would have been at -2. So even if you hit the +2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Shillavi wouldn't be dead. All right,
Yeah,
they're calling the game
forgotten.
they're calling the game via the outflank. Win the lead of control token number 2 3 times. That's game over. Let's go ahead and chat with the players.
Hey.
Good game, guys. That was exciting.
God, that
was
call of the
nice.
week.
Uh-huh.
I was so frustrated. I was so frustrated because I almost didn't give the mark and slow to Shillavi, and I had to release the spirits, and I was just 1 hex too far away with my other heroes to clear it off. So I was so close there. Also, the time at the beginning of the game, like I almost had showdown on round 1, I think.
Yeah,
I just did one too much damage. I did
10 damage was, nuts.
That was awesome.
I hadn't quite accounted for things like between the illusion and the fact that I forget which one it was. The Dance of Death gave me the extra +1. I miscounted that and thought there was a very likely that she'd end up at 1, but it ended up just barely killing her. It's like, oh, that hurt so much. Also, the redirect was just
was perfectly timed.
I had so much damage in my hand on that round too.
You did do a lot of damage to the outsider.
So I did that 10 plus
10,
attack, and then I did 14 on the next activation. But after that, I just didn't quite have enough. And then with Shillavi having that call of the week, just after Satheru died, I really just didn't have any options there. And my best shot was to get really lucky and somehow have one of my heroes get a double kill, basically. But there was for that to have happened, I would Yami would have to have not gotten disarmed, and then I would have had to have flipped 3+3s or something.
We both felt your pain whenever we saw that Caged Soul being used as the lead for round 2. We're like, I bet you he has.
That hurt so much because it was I knew that I needed to not lose the outsider, because if I did, there was a fair chance that Satheru was just dead then.
He would be killed straight away. So
and I knew based on how many 3s I had seen that it was pretty unlikely that I was going to be getting 3s off the top, and then I had a 2 on top, and I had a 0 that I'd already led with.
Mm-hmm.
So Cytherea likely would have easily died there.
Yes.
Which would have kind of derailed me anyway.
Right.
In hindsight, it would have, knowing what maybe it would have been better to take that chance, but I don't know that it would really. Just
so with the new cards, Miyuki is gonna hurt a lot.
Oh,
but like Call of the Week,
Yeah.
Call of the Week is a nice counter, So
yeah.
if you just throw her in the face 4 or 8 damage like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that hurt too, though, is that like I really wanted to draw a few more cards. It's just the way I was focusing on kind of killing heroes meant that I was kind of at a card disadvantage there most of the game, which I'm fine with losing the lanes because I had several opportunities to just win before the tower got plowed over.
Yep.
It was just the card disadvantage kind of hurt there because like if I could have drawn a few more cards and had like a psychic shield or had another one of these 1-mana cards that really lets me do a lot of damage, like that would have helped so much, but didn't quite have there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the other thing is if I still had the flux, I would have been able to release with Cytherea, but it was it was amusing. That first round, I realized I used the flux for a
migraine.
Migraine,
Mm-hmm.
which I was like, okay, Cytherea, I really don't want Cytherea, and then he flipped zeros and -1s, and I'm like, well,
my Shillavy was a bit tired.
I really wish I didn't use the flux then because it did nothing.
Yeah.
Because he had he was able to get rid of the disarm and he flipped zeros anyway, so it's like, well,
bummer.
But I'll be really excited to see games with the new victory conditions and new cards.
Yes.
This really will let red do a ton of damage.
We were talking about it. Make a chemo great again. Summertime buff. Here it comes.
It's time for a chemo.
We were
finally.
A chemo casually going like what 5+ just on his base his base attack plus his worship.
Well,
and then you have things like like Lure of the Tainted to do another 4+ or he'll really be capable of just like one-shotting heroes.
Yeah. We were doing the math and we figured out like with blue, if you bring Miyuki and you worship on a shapeshifted person and then have them attack with a chemo, it's like 11 + 2 flips. And so it's like, yes, you're just dead.
That hurts.
Mm-hmm. 11 + 2, which are you talking about like Lure of the Tainted or something else, or
no, if you use
Vendetta.
Yeah, Vendetta. Sorry, that's what the card is.
Vendetta. Yeah. Okay. Because that's what, like 6 plus
5 plus
6
from
plus
the
4
chemo
plus
abilities.
1, 11. Yeah.
And somebody's just dead.
Well, we felt on the outsider. She was 20 and then she was 10. It was 10.
That was hilarious because I saw you guys putting the token online and I'm like, why is it going down? So, oh right, Vendetta just made Kichi do an absolutely massive amount of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I was it was frustrating there just having the having like everything I did just barely not quite work. It's like I go in for the attack for 10 and then it gets redirected and then I go for another big attack and I accidentally kill Astrida and then he has the presence and I can't win the dome and then he has the Call the Weak and my Cytherea dies. I was like, I was like so close the entire time. Just could not quite get there. I think I'm actually pretty happy with how this played out in terms of the deck that I built. It did basically what I was intending to do, which is murder heroes, just straight up murder them. The issue with this kind of deck is that all of these cards that are letting me do a ton of damage, it's slightly frustrating because they're like all +1s, which I guess is it's a lot better than them being +0s, to be fair. But like basically my entire deck is +1s, and then there's like I have like Wind Blast and Soul Scream are +0s. I think that's it, and then there's a handful of +2s and there's +2s and like Release the Spirits, and then there's the Psychic Shield, obviously. But other than the deck being basically all +1s, I'm I wish there were more +2s that I wanted to run. There's just too many new cards though.
Yes.
That are like do too much, and it's like, okay, fine, it's a +1, but if it means I'm doing, you know, like 10 damage on attack or whatever.
Sounds like it's time to upgrade deck capacity to 12 cards a hero.
By a year from now, we got 20 cards per hero.
Hey, you know what? Don't worry. People who complain about, you know, that cards need to be exiled and whatnot, don't worry. The deck is literally 5 inches high. We're fine. You're not going to get through one deck your entire game because you've channel stuffed it with an obscene amount of cards. Call it a day.
Just shuffle your collection and play, right?
Exactly. Yeah, just like it's like the Magic rule. As long as you can shuffle the deck unassisted, you're good to go.
Just remove recall and a couple of more cards, but apart from that, you're good to go.
Yeah. All right, well, this was an excellent game here. We're going to go ahead and get things wrapped up as we have another treat for you guys coming up here shortly. We're going to watch Smiaz and Carito duke it out on the Ashen Pass as part of the May World Qualifier playoff round. Zergel and I will be bringing that to you guys in about 10 minutes. So please stay tuned for that. That's coming up very shortly. So again, congratulations to Riccardo for reclaiming your throne. Pythoner, congratulations on an excellent win streak. You do still have the highest win streak of all people. We look forward to when you rejoin and take it back from whomever holds it at your next challenge. And from all of us, thank you very much for joining us, guys. Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you shortly for the World Qualifier playoffs. Take care.
Thank you, guys.